IVM.
Now, if you ever stumbled across my profile, Subtle Strength on Instagram, it might not look like that, but I am an engineer by my academic credentials. I've done my diploma and I've done my degree in electronics engineering. Now, I won't say that I am a great engineer because I never pursued it. But engineering basically made me who I am. Not because all those technical studies which I have done has helped me greatly in my life. No. What really has helped me, or what really has helped me by doing engineering, is it gave me a sense of invincibility and made me this person who can adapt to any scenarios. Engineering helps you to analyze a problem, be it your submissions, be it your exams, be it those KTs, be it everything, and makes you realize that, you know what, there's always another day. There's always another solution. There's anything that you can do. And that has helped me greatly. Now, the reason I'm saying so is because all of us came across this massive global tragedy, which was the pandemic. And personally for me, that was a massive blow because my entire business, which was running offline, the movement got shut. But because of my engineering nature, or because of the subconscious behavior which engineering has ingrained in my system, I realized that I have the approach in life that I know that I can actually get out of it. And that's why Unlock started. Unlock is basically an extension of what movement was, and now it's online, it's bigger than ever. This particular conversation is about adaptability, it's about businesses, it's about growing, it's about never stopping, and it's a very interesting conversation with Divyanka, who I refer to as Gigi. She has helped me a lot in my career, and it's going to be a very insightful conversation about what the entire fitness industry has been to in the last 2 years. So stay tuned, and if you guys enjoyed this conversation, just give a follow to the space.juhu on Instagram and say hi to Divyanka from my side, or say hi to Gigi from my side. Hi, welcome back to the Raw and Organic podcast. Today I have a very interesting person and a long-time friend. She is an entrepreneur with a soft spot for both fitness and design industry. She's one of the very few and the first business owners in Bombay to set up a non-traditional training facility in 2013 called as a Space. She's also a jewelry designer and a daughter of a very famous badman. Today we have Divyanka Bedi, aka Gigi. Hi Gigi.
Hi Kunal. I'm good. Thank you for having me here.
I'm so excited to have this conversation.
I know. I love the name. Raw and Organic.
So we knew what was going to sell in fitness industry, which is the new trend. So we went with it. But the whole point is, but the whole point is to like have a raw and organic conversation about different topics. And today's topic is a very interesting one. Today's topic is going to be fitness as a business in Indian market. So who else to talk about this with the very first, or I think one of the very few people who actually started, who actually foresaw fitness industry in the way that it is going to go back in 2013.
Too soon, but in time. I saw the whole transition happen. It's pretty cool.
So tell me, back in 2013, how did you come about trying to do something which is so different? Now, before we actually start this entire conversation, do you want to like give a background about what the Space is about?
Sure. So the Space is a multidisciplinary fitness studio in Mumbai, in Juhu. It's based out of old bungalow that belongs to my parents. So it's a very cute private venue. And it's kind of like a co-working space for instructors from various fields in the industry, right? So like you, Kunal, you have incubated the movement with us. You have grown, you have boomed, and you have now exploded. So we've had the fortune of having a lot of fab instructors come through, do their thing and grow. So yeah, I would say it's a co-working fitness venue for instructors.
Yeah, that is to put it like very simply. I think it's much more complex than that. It's a beautiful space. And I think one of the best part about that particular space is the vibes, and it's so abstract, right? You can't define a place's energy, but that
The
particular
space,
place.
and every hour gets defined by the person that's come in and the people that come in to train. So the room goes from zen to hardcore to old school to new school. So yeah, it's a space that just molds.
And tell me about it. Like, how did you come across? Because back in 2013, I don't think fitness was perceived as a multidisciplinary way of going in terms of like business ownership, right? So, how did you come across the fact that, you know what, I want to have a space which is not only going to target one set of target audience, but it's actually going to focus on different people altogether?
So, you know me, Kunal, I like doing different things and I like different forms of movement. And there are a lot of people like me who are in India, in the world. And for me, the traditional gym setup, running, none of these things work. So my sport was climbing, and through climbing, I found community, I found the outdoors. And when I moved back to Bombay from Delhi, I found that was missing here. There were a lot of groups, a lot of people practicing things already, but in many places. And then you had your traditional gym setup where people will go for fitness. So every kind of movement has something to offer towards your health, towards your wellness. So I thought, why not bring everything in one place and offer a venue for those guys who don't have access to this in a traditional gym setup. So funnily, we have grown pretty organically, if that fits for this show. But we started off as purely a rehearsal venue, targeting actors, because we are in Juhu. So we thought, let's bring actors in here to train. But for me, it didn't feel satisfactory because it was pretty simple. It was a rental business. People came in, worked out, left. And I started seeing this growth in Bombay. There was Tangerine that was kind of doing it for dance and yoga. So I thought, why not bring more training practices under one roof? And that's how the space happened.
Which is pretty interesting because I think back when I stepped into the space for the first time, I think I remember it was for the Nike Trainer Summit way back in 2015, if I'm not wrong. And I was like blown away with the fact that, you know what, there could be a space in this city which actually caters to not only one discipline of fitness, but also like variety of things. And it was like overwhelming for me personally, because at that particular time, the fitness industry wasn't that evolved.
Yes.
And amazing. I mean, like now, back then in 2013, I think atmosphere was completely different.
There were boxes, right? There was women trained a certain way, men trained a certain way. And somehow just things seemed inaccessible to other groups. So just getting rid of that helped.
So a lot of educating need to happen at that time, if I can.
A lot. But I have to say the pandemic helped with the graduation,
Yeah, everyone. I was like, the test that people require again.
It was everything that you're afraid of. People did this pandemic, and I'm so excited because I'm looking forward to 2022, if there is no more lockdown, to see people actually come back into physical practice.
But tell me one thing, which is like a very interesting question. As a business owner who's like predominantly into the offline space, now I can actually like distinguish between an offline space and an online space. As an offline space business owner, what is the kind of shift that you've had in terms of client behavior, in terms of holding on to the clients that you actually had way back then, and also like the business model altogether? So what are the shift that you've had pre-pandemic and post-pandemic?
So a shift would be an understatement. I would say it was like a tsunami, earthquake, and every possible thing in one go. I would say 90% of the people that trained with us before the pandemic are not here anymore because they have discovered many new coaches. They've discovered international coaches. They've explored their bodies and moved on, which is effectively what happens to most people, right? You get stronger, you get better, and then you seek the next big challenge. But I have had a whole new crop of people that have come in who were too scared earlier to do, more intense forms of training, to lift weights, who felt that, just dancing or, yoga was kind of their space. So surprisingly, after the pandemic, I got a lot of people over 40 coming in wanting to take care of their bodies, which was interesting, and willing to push themselves a bit more than they would probably earlier. They would be the same people who probably say, I just want to do Pilates, or I just want to do yoga. In terms of personal training has been a huge boom for us. Groups is still an up and down. People are still scared. They're sort of testing the waters. But surprisingly, a lot of people are coming in for personal trainings, which is kind of the direction I'm taking with the space also right now. That's kind of what I have to say from that front.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. I think Okay, part A of the rephrasing of the question is, how was pandemic for you as a business?
It was overnight, my business became obsolete. So I don't know how to explain that feeling to you, where like up till March 2019, we were doing extremely well. Like we were booked out. We had, most of our classes were running full. There were new faces coming in through the door because there was also these many international brands that have started group classes that encouraged a new crop of audience. Overnight, a physical venue became obsolete because teachers don't need us anymore. They've discovered this online space, which has been fantastic for instructors because everything they've hated doing, they now have to do. But the feeling of now what, right? Because you're not required anymore. It's kind of probably what, I don't know, corded telephones probably felt like when mobile phones came in.
I can imagine.
So that was, emotionally, it was a big hurdle for me. I couldn't move online because, most teachers went off independently, and I didn't have the skill set or employees because there was always a co-working setup to take the business online. So we missed that boat. And there was this feeling of hopelessness and this feeling of, should I shut shop and, start from scratch and do something else? And I've invested 7 years into this, you're not ready to let go. But when the first lockdown lifted, it was quite a surprise. A lot of people started calling, asking, when are you opening? People who were following us on Instagram but never came through the door are now ready to come through the door. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's something there. Maybe I need to pull through for a little longer. And luckily, because we own the property, I could take that chance. And that's kind of what I've done. And now it's 2 lockdowns later. And I'm glad I didn't shut shop.
Which I think a lot of people don't realize it, A lot of people think fitness industry has boomed completely. But at the same time, there are people who have had it so much worse than the others. And I think majority of the people have had so much worse than the others.
Exactly. Like there's so many trainers who've not been able to move online because they don't have that skill set, And
exactly.
I feel the worst for them because they have children, they have livelihoods, all of that depending on this.
And which is kind of weird if I'm saying it, because I kind of found my footing well enough in the online business, and Unlock kind of blew up. Fingers crossed. I really hope that kind of But at the same time, I can actually, on the flip side, my parents, they actually own a gym.
Yeah.
And we were paying rent through our nose since the entire lockdown. So I know how it was for business owners to actually just be in that particular state of mind where it's so difficult to not even have a confirmancy with in terms of what there is not going to be.
Exactly. You don't know. You feel like, okay, next month is opening. It almost looks like it's getting better. So let's pull through a little longer, So that ability to take that cold call and say, okay, that's it. I'm cutting my losses. I'm exiting is not something most of us have in us, Especially if you committed so long to this particular thing.
And most of it's so emotion driven because you've actually spent so much time of your life in building something which is now you just realize that it's just going to go away. Exactly. Or might just go away because of
Then go away is taken away. It's done,
Exactly.
And it's not your mistake. The worst part is not your mistake.
And the worst part is we never had a uniform voice or unanimous voice in terms of our industry, the fitness industry coming up and speaking against or educating the government about okay, you know what, this is important. These are the steps that we are going to take. These are the things that we are going to go about in terms of you know what.
Exactly. We had lots of representation. There were many independent organizations doing their thing. And the fitness industry is not as simple as a gym, right? There's so many levels to it. There's, small studios, big studios, gyms, independent instructors. And there was gym owners that managed to sort of put bodies together and represent the industry, but they didn't actually represent the whole industry. Studios, small boutique gyms, coaches were not even spoken about, right? So a place like mine would have been very safe for people to come in and train because of the fact that I can control the volumes in there and I can control the quality, whereas maybe a gym that serves 600,000 people a day could not do that, but we were all clubbed into the same box.
Category. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the downside of being in an industry which is not that evolved, which is not having that kind of market share in the entire economy, I think. But at the same time, I feel that we are growing over the period of time, and there is going to be some kind of positive reinforcement in terms of like the education that people have had in this entire pandemic. And given the fact that even like we are winning Olympic medals, Olympic gold in track and field, there is going to be some good amount of transfer.
Yeah, there will be a shift. There is a shift coming. There's a massive shift coming. And I say this is the time to ride that wave. So yeah, hold on a little longer for sure.
Hold on a little longer. Exactly. And hold on a little longer for all the business owners, which is very important.
Exactly.
Like I
speak to other studio owners and, you feel you're alone in this situation, but they are all in the same boat. They don't have instructors and we're like, we have places, but we don't have instructors. So let's see.
Which as an instructor, I think that is a conversation that I would like to talk about in length in future. I think this is the time where you have to like start evolving as a business owner also, right?
Because exactly.
Instructors are doing that. They are like riding waves upon waves and they're like trying to find their footing in terms of, if I know that if I'm good at something, I might as well just do it by myself.
And India is a fab country to be an entrepreneur. Like you can take that chance. You can take that risk, so.
Exactly. My second question to you, I'm sorry, like this thing kind of like got, this is like, if you guys are listening to this, it's a very emotional topic for a lot of us. So that's why we kind of like get carried away just like that in this particular topic. But my second question is like, now what are your future plans in terms of like, you said that, 90% of your previous customers are not a part of your entire ecosystem altogether right now. Okay. Yes. So you're figuring out that there is a different niche that you want to focus on. So what are your plans now as a business who has evolved?
So I guess the pandemic showed me the biggest gap in my business, which is, I guess it was a co-working place and we had people coming in and out working in partnership or on rentals or whatever. So one thing I do want to educate myself a bit more to find a consistent language for my business and then focus a lot on personal training, small groups, goal-based training, and step away from the group model. That's kind of where I am right now with the studio. Because as an individual also, I feel more satisfied seeing that results, that with Unlock, when you're seeing people transform and the consistency, what it brings. And that's kind of what I want to bring to the studio. Still keep it multidisciplinary, but just one consistent language. And I enjoy physical space. I enjoy human interaction. So I don't know if I will be able to move online.
Makes sense.
And I know there's a huge bunch of people that don't like being online. So I want to cater to them.
Can you just define in terms of what your business model was? What is a group workout session that you end up like providing to other people? Like if a consumer just walks into your group session, what is that consumer going to go through? And what kind of training services that consumer gets?
Okay, so we did different types of exercises or disciplines of group training. So there was HIIT, there was strength training, there was yoga, Pilates, all of that. And a customer would usually come to me asking for what they know exists, right? So what they've heard or seen on Instagram. And we would invite them into the class. They would join a bunch of 10 to 16 people in a room and all train together as a team for that 1 hour. So it was a very social format of training. Whereas now I would say a customer would come in with X, Y, Z vision for themselves in mind. And they want to achieve this in say a year or 2 years or 3 years even. And I want to provide the support system and that entire ecosystem in one place where I can take them towards that goal. So a little more than personal training, you can say.
Getting it. So earlier when you were talking about like group sessions, which actually happens predominantly everywhere. We're talking about like the space. You're talking about like more or less all the CrossFit boxes. You're talking about like group trainings in PureFit and all these things. I think I can actually name drop. You're talking about the movement also, which I used to do earlier, F45 and everywhere. So
it's huge.
Exactly.
The social thing is huge, right?
So the group training was basically people getting in, signing up for a month or whatever, and just doing sessions which are keeping them healthy.
Keeping them moving.
Keeping them healthy, keeping them moving, making them do challenging movements. But it's not programmed in a certain way that they are going to reach from point A to point B. If they end up reaching, right?
And that's, you've realized this as well. It's in the end of it, if you don't see a change in your body or you don't see yourself getting stronger or an end goal in sight, that rotation keeps happening. The customer gets bored. The customer moves. They try the latest fad. They, try the newest thing. And you have done that with Unlock. You've managed in this scale to create programming on an online format where you're seeing consistent goals each month and your group's getting stronger every month. And that's pretty much what I feel inspired to do.
Yeah. And I personally feel that is one observation which I had way back from the movement days itself, that there was some kind of redundancy in variability.
Yes.
Because it's very weird to say that out loud, because a lot of people kind of got bored of doing a lot of different things over the period of time. And then I realized that the reason why that is happening is because they're not seeing a definitive change in terms of their numbers, in terms of the way that they are going to lift, the way that their body is shifting, or the way that they're
even
feeling.
A goal, like there is no sort of, they don't
target.
Target. Where am I going with it, right? So if you don't know where you're going, you keep going everywhere till your primary needs are fulfilled. That adrenaline rush that you want.
Exactly. And that's why I think Unlock also works pretty well, because it's like, it's goal driven right now.
Yeah.
And it's like more structured that way. So coming back to what you are going to be doing, you're going to be focusing on, if I can say that, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be group personalized training?
It'll be, it could be group, it could be private, depending on the customer's needs, but it'll be very intimate, tailored, and supported till you reach where you want to get.
And so you would market it as a more niche category of fitness other than a mass-based fitness.
Yes, I even though I know mass is the smart way to go, and that's where you get the volume and the returns, as my own personal greedy satisfaction, I think I would prefer this format.
Okay, you know what? On that particular thing, I think there is a very interesting topic going to come in. You're going to take a small break and you're going to come back. So people who are listening, by that time, you just want to go search the space.juhu, if I'm not wrong.
You better know this. The space.juhu, and I'm gg_p.e.
Yes, all the Tiger Shroff fans, just go and check her out.
Your voice is gone.
Okay, awesome. So we are going to come back in a minute.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. In the kickoff episode of Think Fast, our hosts Varun Dugirala and Suchita Salman give you their hot takes on all things trending. Whether it's the Paytm IPO fallout, Taylor Swift's re-releases, or the latest season of Shark Tank India, do check it out. On Misconduct, Raghavi and Nisha take us through the story of Santokh bin Jadeja, aka the godmother of Porbandar. At her peak in the 80s and 90s, her gang had over 500 registered criminal cases. Are social networks just content moderating platforms, or are they true blue publishers? Dive deeper into this debate with Siddharth on Smarter with Sid. On Marathi Khidkitun, Dr. Rajiv and Manik Deshmukh talk about differently abled people who emerged as achievers. And speaking of Varun Dugirala, this week on Advertising is Dead, he is joined by content creator and gamer myth Path. They discuss his journey as a creator and the experience that came from it. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. And finally, do remember that many of our shows are available on YouTube. You can check that out by going to our website, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where we have a list of all of our various YouTube channels. Finally, we'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, HDFC Mutual Fund, CoinSwitch, Kuber, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to Raw and Organic. We are talking to Gigi, aka Divyanka, and this has been a very interesting conversation. And Gigi was talking about something which was shifting from a group training to a more personalized version of training. More or less, reason being because now she wants her clients and customers to see definitive changes in their own fitness journey. And that is also one of the ways to make sure that she's holding on to the clients for a lot more longer, so they can actually come back again, so they can actually see changes. So now, Gigi, from what I see as a business prospect from Unlock, I see it as a mass-based product. But at the same time, it is exclusive. It's not going beyond a certain point where it can't cater to a lot of people. But at the same time, we are doing a lot of distillation in terms of...
You've got your different, even though it's a large volume, you've got every need catered to, right there.
Yes. So in a way, it's kind of niche, but at the same time, it's kind of mass. I'm kind of trying to find the right balance over there.
Okay, those Metcons at the end of the month are quite worth being part of the niche.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. We end up giving away Metcon 7s.
So many goodies.
To Unlock game winners. So that is one thing. But in offline space, you can't focus to the same kind of category of people or the same kind of volume that I'm going to focus on. Okay,
You
with
kind
unlimited.
of can if you see what Cult is doing. They do work on volume. I mean, I know now with the social distancing and the limits in the room, you can't. But you've also had times when you've had like 25 people in a room at one time, right?
Which makes sense. But at the same time, if I'm going to focus on a category of people who are going to be at a similar level and who are trying to reach at a similar level, I would want to focus a lot more time, a lot more exposure, a lot more quality in terms of like how I'm catering to them. Okay. So we are talking about like nutrition. We're talking about their body composition checking, their weekly checking,
physical pattern distortion.
Exactly. Mental awareness check also, like how are they feeling about it? Their changes in their weight, their changes in the weight that they're lifting, and so on and so forth. So it's more personalized that way, right? Yeah. So that becomes a more niche category of fitness, if I can say that. So as a business owner, do you feel that it's better in Indian market to actually go for the niche category of fitness where you are just relying on a few people who are going to give you the same amount of revenue? That means they are going to be paying a bit higher than what a normal people are paying for group sessions, but they are going to get more returns in terms of like the...
I think there's a market for everything in India. Coming from my background in fashion, if you look at, say, Anita Dongre, you have Anita Dongre bridal wear, which goes up in lakhs and lakhs and lakhs an outfit. And then you have which sort of, you can buy something for 3,000 to 6,000 rupees an outfit, sometimes even 500, right? So there is a market for everything. And I also think putting all your eggs in one basket is a bad idea in today's time. So you have to, even though I am more inclined towards going in this direction right now, it doesn't say that I'm off the table for the other direction.
Very enterprising of you hedging, like wanting to hedge into a different aspect.
Diversify.
Yeah, which is I personally feel as it's very difficult for me in terms of like just passion point of view, you know, that like I have to go all in terms of whatever I'm doing for just one thing at a time. Because I can't
still diversify, Kunal. If you look at everything you're doing in one place, like you have in your own way. And I also feel you're going to come full circle to the side I want to go eventually.
I mean, that is what I would... Okay, you know what? Like I am like at a loss of words right now because I honestly have no idea what I'm going to do. It's pretty overwhelming, to be honest. But coming back, I also know that you've just completed your certification.
Yes.
And why would a business owner who owns a gym, who owns a beautiful space in Juhu, who is like now trying to like venture into different aspects of fitness altogether, who has contacts to A-listers, who has contacts to all the coaches in the entire ecosystem, why would she want to get a certification?
So there is only so much you can do if you don't have complete knowledge on a subject, right? And I am running this space because I love it, but to understand the way the body works, to understand results, for example, to understand the customer point of view when you work with them one-on-one, I feel like I wanted to go back to school, get my foundations right before I try to sell something to the end person, right? Coming again to my designing, I never actually stitch clothes, but I know how to cut a piece of fabric, how to make something flat into a shape. And that allows me to be creative on paper to come up with something new every time. So I feel if your basics are strong, you can keep innovating, you can keep modifying and moving on with time. So that's why studying, I intend to keep studying more. I have a couple of things in mind I want to do, not from the view of being a coach, but from seeing what new I can do.
But how important it is for an entrepreneur to just go back to basics and keep upskilling themselves? From your perspective, I mean, like it's not like a black and white situation.
It's not necessary that you have to go completely study anatomy and, understand biology and how the body works. But it is very important to understand the grassroots of your subject, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's a Band-Aid effect where you keep putting stickers on top to sort of get away with what you do, or you really know what you're doing and you're able to bring on the right team. You're able to sort of create a product that's probably missing. And that would probably only happen when you understand the core of what you're selling.
Getting it. And I think it's one of the most important ways to find out who you are hiring.
Yes.
Yes. I think once you understand the basics, you know what the basic questionnaire should be in terms of like what you want to ask somebody.
Like I've always been OCD about certifications and, getting coaches in who have their paperwork right. But now after studying, if I have to go back to what I did like 7 years ago, there's a lot of stuff I would not do anymore because now I just know what could happen on the other side. Or the things I would have liked to do sooner. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty interesting for sure.
Yeah, and like fun fact with Nike, they asked us about the certification, but they also asked us a problem in terms of like how if a certain female had a shoulder impingement, what was going to be her microcycle, macrocycle, mesocycle programming and how she's going to get better. So we had to like develop an entire program for her.
Wow, based on that one person. You guys had to go through a full training as well, right? Like for Nike specifically.
Exactly. But can you imagine like they had the foresight back then to ask us those questions.
That is entrepreneurship technically. It is problem solving, right? It is. And if you don't know how to solve a problem, you're not going to be doing much.
Yeah. And over here, we are like just happy. Okay, certification. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine.
I have to say this openly and maybe I'm kicking myself in the foot, but I feel the certification in the fitness industry are too easy. I think the standards need to go up. I wish my exam was harder.
Yeah, it's more or less in certain certifications, it's a 2-day process.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I feel like when you're working with human bodies, it should be a little more difficult than just.
Can you imagine? I mean, like I love this industry, man. Like this is such a beautiful time to be in this industry where the entry barrier is negligent, but like it doesn't exist. And if you are like good with putting yourself out there, and if you're good with your words, and if you can sell your services better than
and you don't hurt too many people on the way,
yes, you can really make a good amount of money.
Yes, this is
so
true.
That's yes. So Gigi, coming back to the last part of this entire conversation, what are your future plans? Because as a person, I know that you have always been dabbling between wanting to not do something in terms of fitness, trying to shut shop and just go off all the way and do something else altogether, wanting to try different aspects altogether, trying to launch different things, including the thing that Apurv, you and I are like planning on for the last 4 years of our lives.
It's coming. It's just the pandemic made everything slower.
It's coming. Now trying to venture into the niche category of fitness. So what are the future plans? Like, have you decided a roadmap for yourself that, okay, you know what, these are my milestones and these are what I'm going to like go through right now? Or you're just going with the...
No, I'm not going with the flow anymore. In terms of dabbling with wanting to shut down, that only happened during the pandemic because overnight I got obsessed, but I never wanted to shut down. Pre-pandemic, I was already trying to move towards a direction that was more tailored. So it's just this lockdown gave me time to think through how I want to do it. In terms of roadmap, I would like to own more spaces around the country, offering a tailored format of training. I love climbing, so that's something on my goals. I want to be able to bring climbing commercially to India at some point. And my personal brand, I think that's the 3 milestones I have on list.
I am honestly looking forward for the climbing part more than anything else, because I personally feel that, you know, I actually have you and Vrinda on the roster itself of Raw and Organic to actually have a conversation about climbing in general and how we can actually like bring climbing to the masses. So that is one conversation that it's going to be like, you have to stay tuned for that particular thing, audience. But yeah, it's a different ball game altogether and it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful way of just moving.
Beautiful, addictive, satisfying, like it's just everything in one wall.
Liberating. I personally find it like very liberating. I find it, the conversations that you have with yourself in a particular
place. People who climb are very mathematical and analytical. It's a lot of problem solving there. So
I can imagine.
It's mind, muscle, everything. Yeah. So that's 3 things, long-term plans, working on it.
But from what I know, Gigi, I know that you have always been a go-getter and you've always been a survivor. You've always analyzed the situations and you have come up always on the brighter side. And I cannot wait to see the progress that you're going to have.
Thank
and
you,
I really want to be a
Kunal.
part of this entire progress.
I want you to be part of it. You've been part of it from, I don't know what, 2015 you've been with us. You have to be
2015.
part of this whole thing. Yeah.
Yes. And thank you for single-handedly like keeping up the standards of the fitness industry in this city. Up there.
Kunal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
Thank you. And Gigi, how do we reach out to you?
So if you want to reach out to me personally, I'm on Instagram at gigi._.p.e and the space .juhu. So these are the two things. So gigi_.p.e and the space .juhu. Yeah.
Okay. I would repeat that again. It's gg_b.e. All the Tiger Shroff fans would know that. And the space
Guys,
handle.
I can't introduce you to any famous people. If you're following me, any famous people, I can't introduce them. Just unfollow me now.
and the space page is the space.juhu.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the clear introduction, Kunal.
Yes. So thank you guys. Let us know if you want to ask us any questions. If you want to ask Gigi any questions, you can write us down on the email and you can hit me up at subtle.strength. And yeah, this was Divyanka Bedi, aka Gigi, aka daughter of a very famous bad man. Can you please introduce the very famous bad man, by the way?
So, hey, I can't even do it correctly. I can't do it right. You can guess. You can comment on Kunal's page and guess who it is.
Okay, let us know. Okay. See you guys. Have a beautiful day ahead. And thank you so much, Gigi, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Kunal.
Bye.
Love you.
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Dugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders and change makers from across business, media, marketing and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app or wherever you get your podcast from.